Now that we've heard excerpts from that exclusive Fox 32 News interview with Jason Van Dyke, the accused killer of LaQuan McDonald, joining us is Karen Conti. She is a Fox 32 News legal consultant. She is an attorney herself, going to be involved in our coverage that starts this coming week in the trial of Jason Van Dyke and LaQuan McDonald's great uncle, Reverend Marvin Hunter of the Grace Memorial Baptist Church on the West Side. The question, Reverend Hunter, your reaction after everything you've heard from Jason Van Dyke there?
My reaction is I feel that Mr. Van Dyke is doing probably what anyone in his position would do. And that
when you hear him talk about going to a dark place and the concern for his family, I know that that had to stir something inside you.
Well,
obviously your family's had a tough time.
That's kind of what I feel. My family have had a tough time. However, him going to a dark place shows that that there is hope for him as a human being, because our family viewed him as a person that had no empathy or no real concern for human life.
Now, he insists that race played no factor in the killing.
Well, when we look at, I don't know him, so I can't tell you, point blank of who I think he is, but I can say that the fact shows that every complaint that has been lodged against him, I understand it's at least 20, to Chicago police officer, has all come from people of color. All of the violence that he has shown that he can and will do has happened against African American people, along with racial slurs that are African American racial slurs.
So, what is it the family wants to say?
Well, one of the things the family would like to say is that we, number one, believe that justice can and will be served in this particular case because of the work that has been done by the prosecutors, and so we really would like for this to be a peaceful peace. We want before, during, and after this trial, we're looking for peace.
Some of the protesters have threatened there won't be peace if he's acquitted.
Absolutely, and that is not what the family is looking for. That is not who this family is. We're people of faith, and that we believe that there's redemption for all men, irregardless to where you are in life or where you've come from. And I love this city, and I have to live here when this trial is over, and so does all the people of Chicago. And the last thing we need is more violence on top of the violence that Mr. Van Dyke has shown.
What's your understanding? What have you been told?
I'm not an attorney. I don't want to sit here and act like I am. But I believe that the adage of don't believe your lying eyes will not work in this case. I believe that...
Because you think the video is proof?
It is absolute proof, along with the fact that there were 7 other officers there, along with the fact that none of those officers drew their weapons, along with the fact that Mr. Van Dyke shot 16 times. The police are trained, I understand, to shoot 3 times, assess the threat, and then proceed. He unloaded his weapon. And then his fellow officer had to actually stop him from reloading. And then the police department lied about it. And so did all of the officers on the scene.
We're back with Karen Conti, Fox 32 News legal consultant, and the great uncle of LaQuan McDonald, Reverend Marvin Hunter, in the trial that starts this week of Jason Van Dyke, the police officer accused of killing your nephew. Should his background, should LaQuan McDonald's supposedly troubled background be part of this trial?
I want to be clear. LaQuan is the victim.
Now, that's a word that the judge has forbidden to be used in the courtroom.
Well, I'm not an attorney. I'm the uncle. And my family has been victimized by this man. We view him as a murderer. That's how we see it. LaQuan was no threat to him based on what we've saw. And the reality of it is, when do we examine the background of the victim? It's blaming the victim for what a perpetrator does.
And he says that he never pulled he never pulled the trigger previously in his years as a police officer.
And yet, he tore the ligaments in the collarbone of one person, and the city had to pay $350,000
in complaints, previous complaints about previous incidents.
$150,000 for over excessive force. If we're going to worry about what LaQuan did at 2, how come we're not worrying about what Jason Van Dyke did while he was on the job? And if, in fact, we're going to deal with what previous lifestyle causes people to do what they do, then let's go back to this Middle Passage. Let's go back to Jim Crow. Let's go back to the barriers that exist for African Americans. We are at a disadvantage in every sphere of life in this country, economically, socially. And the reality of it is, if we're going to start using those things as excuses, then come on, let's bring it on. Let's talk about it.
We got about 30 seconds left here. What do you want people to know who've watched that interview of Jason Van Dyke? And I found it moving, and I found myself feeling some sympathy for him. What do you think people should know?
I would be absolutely lying to you if I told you that I didn't see that interview and didn't feel some sort of emotion. It was great TV. However, when you're under those kinds of pressures, you will say those kinds of things. At the end of the day, the facts about Jason Van Dyke's life, the facts about what he done, says that he's totally opposite of what you saw on that interview. I want to say that everybody has tried to benefit off of this. People are raising monies and PayPals. This family has never asked for one dime of money from anybody through PayPals or did any banquets of any sort. I am saying also in these final words, I want this to be a peaceful protest. If you're going to protest before, during, and after this trial, I do not think that we need to be violent in this in any way, shape, form, or fashion. I'm not soliciting the help of anarchists or anyone else. I just want this trial to stand on its merit.
Reverend Hunter, we're going to leave it right there. Karen County, thank you very much.